Hello my friends, in this video we're gonna review the situation on the front lines and also updates coming from Ukraine and from Middle East. Let's start from this part of the front line. This is Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk Oblast. It seems like Ukraine gained a second breath in the counteroffensive operation and cancelled the previous Russian counterattacks, which were quite small and mainly were done to show some of the Russian flags in this area, while Ukraine cancelled all of them and even went to Pole. Yes, we have the information update coming from 2 days ago already that Ukrainian military observer Mashevets, and his report is based on the actual images because he is in contact with the Ukrainian military. So there is the presence of Ukrainian army in several of the streets. One is street of Franka and Luhova streets in the central area of Pole. Maybe it's some sort of the small counteroffensive special operation done by Ukrainian special forces. Well, I'm not sure of who is definitely presented there, but it shows that defense of Russians in Pole is kind of weak if Ukraine managed to get there. Also, it was confirmed that Ukraine was capable to establish control over Tsvitkovo and Krynichne villages before Russians went there with the small counteroffensives. Well, they all failed. Well, I'm genuinely surprised that Ukraine was capable to counterattack in Pole direction because before Russians, they got an advantage for at least a couple of days, but now Ukraine manages to propel forward, and those are just fantastic news. Well, maybe there's the chance for Ukrainian army to deoccupy Pole. It could be a crucial hub for defense of Ukraine, or it could be a hub for the Russian army for the further assaults. I think that the main goal for Ukraine is to push Russians away from T-0401 road that goes from Pokrovsk to Pole. Plus, we have some good news from Ryzdvyanka and Ternuvata. Before, Russians showed some of the flags out there, but they were repelled by Ukrainian forces, and Ukraine even gets closer to Solodki here, expanding the gray zone. I just want to show you the previous situation there. So Russians went to Ryzdvyanka, they put their flags, but later on, as I told you, Ukraine went on a counterattack, so the same Ryzdvyanka is now being liberated by Ukraine, Ternuvata as well, and Ukraine again gains initiative. My friends, just a short break here, an announcement, important one. Please press like to this video right now while you're watching me. It is very, very important. Also subscribe for the channel and check out your subscriptions because there are some of the glitches sometimes on the platform, so it may unsubscribe you, so cross check. Also, if you can, you may support me on Patreon or on membership of the channel. The link for my Patreon is in the video description right below. As for the membership, you may just press button join. Thank you guys. Without your kind support, my job wouldn't be possible. Let's continue with the video. And here is the video from the drone showing a couple of the Russian soldiers on this infiltration attack. They carried some of the TM62 mines to mine the road for Ukraine not to be capable to advance that fast and for our vehicles to kaboom on those mines, but they were spotted by Ukrainian infantry in the same village that Russia already put as their controlled territory. Maybe local commanders were not aware about the presence of Ukrainian army in the same settlement, because they're in lack of this communication and actual information of what is happening on the front lines, because without American Starlings, Russians are not capable to coordinate efforts right away. But they were met by a couple of our guys from 77th Brigade, and Russians didn't expect that to happen, and they were flatlined. It's kind of rare nowadays that this actual fight is happening using small arms. Usually both sides, they're using drones, FPVs, drone drops, and so on. So yeah, then it happens, and still there is the place for the actual infantry fights. However, I checked out the recent statistics. 85% of the losses are happening because of the drone strikes. Before, at the very beginning of the war, 2022-2023, the same percentage was for artillery fire. So yeah, the current Russian tactics, then they send a couple of the soldiers to some of the settlement behind Ukrainian defense lines. It works for some time and just for propaganda purposes, or maybe to mislead the higher command, because, you know, local commanders, they want to show that they're gaining territories. And as an evidence, they show those Russian flags in gray zone settlements to definitely confirm their territorial gains and how successful they are. Sometimes those commanders, they obtain even medals from Gerasimov and Putin personally. Sometimes it happens, yeah. Well, Ukrainian army goes on a counterattack towards Solodki, Uspenivka, Malyivka, Timiriivka, and Russia was forced to withdraw the bunch of their forces from nearby settlements. According to conservative statistics from ISW, Institute for the Study of War, Ukraine has liberated roughly 244 square kilometers of the territory. According to official Ukrainian statistics, those are close to 400 square kilometers. Well, I would say it's somewhere in the middle. I think majority of analysts are saying about 300 square kilometers. And it was the first month then Russia lost more of the territories than they gained. February was awesome for Ukraine, and I would say, judging on the current situation of this sector of the front lines, Ukraine still has advantage over Russia here and will continue to push Russians, gaining more ground. So I'm pretty much optimistic about Zaporizhzhia and Dnipropetrovsk direction. I would say that Russia failed here. They were not capable to construct some of the defense lines. They thought that they got full initiative. They continued to move forward. They extended their supply lines. They were not capable also to build reliable hubs for their military. I mean, those positions where they could store their equipment more or less safely. No. It's not possible nowadays, and Ukraine strikes far behind the front lines, hurting Russian logistics in this area and in many of the areas. The only thing, like downside of every counteroffensive operation, is you have more losses than you are on attack, and for the last months, Ukraine lost at least 8 of the vehicles in this northern part of Dnipropetrovsk region, Dnipropetrovsk front lines. Well, the unit observer analyst, he is very precise in checking out the movements of Ukrainian forces, Russian forces. He published this map showing Russian reinforcements which were sent to Gulai-Pole direction from Pokrovsk, which is quite interesting. It means that Russia wants to keep this direction. They definitely want to propel forward in Zaporizhzhia direction, and I listened to some of the information coming from the Russian propaganda, Gerasimov himself, where he stated that Zaporizhzhia is one of the main directions nowadays for Russia. They want definitely to send more of the forces, which is happening, but they do it from the Pokrovsk direction, which is also kind of interesting. I guess Russians realize that Pokrovsk direction is mainly the dead end for them, even though they occupied Pokrovsk, but they're several of the huge defense lines, and they are unable to penetrate those with the forces they have. So Russians have to choose where to advance, where to even defend the territory. Here, they're now in defense in Gulai-Pole direction, in Zaporizhzhia, Dnipropetrovsk, where Ukraine counterattacks successfully. Yeah, there were multiple of the points. So the situation for Russia in Zaporizhzhia, it's kind of difficult. It is also not like very, very bright for Ukraine, but Ukraine now has an advantage, and Russia had to use their forces from Donetsk Oblast to not let Ukrainians to get Gulai-Pole under control. And from the latest update, from what I see, Ukraine went to Berezovo and Novomykolaivka. So potentially there will be the cut of the Russian forces between Kalinivsk and Berezovo. Here I told you that the Russians start to withdraw the forces, but maybe it's too late for them. I guess that partially at least they're going to be trapped, and also Ukraine moved towards Solodki. The fight isn't going for that village as well. Ribna is under Ukrainian control, so little by little Russians are losing the settlements all along this river. Nice. Meanwhile, Zelensky visited Drushkivka, that is not that far away from Konstantinivka, and there are lots of the attacks happening there. Actually, Russians already hit Drushkivka multiple of the times using drones and artillery. The Ukrainian president also met with local commanders. They discussed the situation in defense of nearby territories, Konstantinivka included. Now let's go to Kupyansk direction, to the Kupyansk city itself. The small groups of Russian infantry are trapped in this enclave for already several of the months, and Ukraine gains territory here little by little. Recently, our forces moved a little bit further, pushing Russian infantry away, unaliving some of their soldiers. The information about it was spread by Ukrainian channels. Russians were hiding on territory of the local factory. Here we have the drone confirmation videos of how Ukraine uses Vampire or Baba Yaga drones to bomb the facility. Later on, Ukrainian infantry went to the place and they start to clear building after building. And those are Russian soldiers, this one and this one, maybe more. Yeah, two of them were shown in this video. They decided to surrender. And by doing so, of course, they saved their own lives. It was a proper decision from Russians to surrender. And that's the map of Kupyansk from the Institute for the Study of War. Well, still there is some of the connection, yeah, but it's very narrow and Ukraine bombs all of the Russian supplies on the way. The enclave is being kaputted and little by little Ukraine clears the entire city. Of course, Russia lost control over the city. They are unable to supply their soldiers properly, maybe just with the drone drops, and the number of their soldiers, there are just few of them. They cannot withstand Ukrainian strikes. So, of course, the Kupyansk operation was a total failure for the Russian army. General responsible for this operation was honored as the hero of Russia. And several days after, Russia lost Kupyansk, almost fully. Well, I don't think that those small portions of infantry isolated in some of the buildings, it means that Russia controls some of the areas. No, they are trapped there, I would say. That's the real term to describe the Russian presence in Kupyansk, but Russian official propaganda continue to tell that they trap Ukrainians there and they establish their full control over Kupyansk, which is an obvious lies. Alright, we have some of the update from Vovchansk direction, that's the northern part of Kharkiv region. Russia recently tried to reinforce their group to attack Ukrainian positions with vehicles, but Ukraine managed to spot those and flatline. Let me show you the video. Yeah, we have the compilation video from 57th Ukrainian Brigade. They are operating in Vovchansk, so here they hit Russian BMP. Also, Russians were trying to move their forces using small vehicles like UAZ. Well, this UAZ vehicle was hit. There were some of the supplies, which is good. The next was Bukhanka vehicle that was spotted by waiter drone or holder drone. So yeah, it was flatlined as well. Next, it is a Russian tank T-72. In the same area, was chased and hit right into the engine compartment. Some of the small Russian vehicles as Niva here with a trailer. Well, trailer was empty, sadly, but vehicle is no-go. And this is the big Russian Ural truck, probably was carrying some of the infantry forces without any sort of the drone protection. Drone hit right into the window, yeah. And one more Bukhanka van, someone tried to jump, but it was too late. So for the last few days, minus BMP, minus tank, minus Ural, and 4 of the small vehicles. And it is just a single direction of Vovchansk, which is not that intense compared to other hotspots on the front lines like Konstantinivka, Gulay Pole, but even there Russia has severe losses. About the rest parts of the front lines, there were no drastic changes. Russia keeps high activity in Konstantinivka, launching lots of the bomb strikes and also drone strikes on Ukrainian positions. But so far, they failed to get into the settlement with their infantry forces. However, they expand the gray area. That is visible on every military map. So the fight for Konstantinivka, urban fight, is up to start in the coming weeks. Oh my god, what is happening here? So many machines! UGVs, unmanned ground vehicles. Skynet, they're on a rage against humanity, moving somewhere. Well, actually, guys, those UGVs are made by Ukrainian developers, and it was a competition in Kyiv Oblast. I think it was 10 days ago, where they were testing some of the machines, UGVs, to discover which one is better. Like, competition between developers. Yeah, you understand. So many different platforms. The goal was to deliver cargo somewhere, because all of those are supply drones, ground drones. Well, we have some of the funny pictures from the place. For example, this one, so not all of the vehicles made it to the destination, but that's the goal, to discover what platform is better to use later on in combat environment. And do you think that it is happening like that in Russia? Absolutely not. Ukraine is testing those UGVs like that. Ukraine is developing something new, and Ukraine has access not just to Chinese production, but also to the Western technologies. So about UGVs, Ukraine has bigger potential than Russia. Ukraine may upgrade those drones. Ukraine may use Starlinks on those, which makes the range of the drones virtually unlimited, limited just for battery capacity. So I would say in this technological race, Ukraine for now wins. And here we have an interesting video. Ukraine for the first time tests the drone interceptors based on some of the drone boats. So naval drone interceptors, you see, they start from the drone boat and their goal is to intercept the flying target, like this one, for example. Ukraine is very efficient with drone interceptors. And for the first time, even our allies, or it's better to say partners in the United States, they confirmed that Ukraine is helping them. Yeah, even the Fox News had to confirm that Ukraine is helping. Just a day ago, they published the misinformation about success of American drone interceptors equipped with AI whatsoever, and they showed Ukrainian drones in action on their propaganda TV. Well, now it's totally different. After backlash, I guess they changed their mind.
Ukraine's got our back. They've pioneered the most advanced anti-drone tech, dealing with the swarms of Iranian drones since Putin invaded. Zelensky says he wants to help. Maybe offer us these wild hornets. The Ukrainians built these beautiful, low-cost, fast, agile kamikaze drones.
So yeah, they shout out to the wild hornets and they say that definitely Ukraine is helping the United States of America. Well, good. I'm surprised that Fox News did this report, definitely confirming that Ukraine is helping them and it's not some sort of the American AI drone interceptors, the hoax that they spread before. Well done. Even in propaganda TV, they sometimes dismiss their own bullshit, saying the information as it is. Yeah, again, I'm surprised about the Fox News here. But they did it just because of the backlash in internet. People were saying like, what the hell are you telling us? Those American AI drone interceptors showing Ukrainian hornets. Come on. And more about drone interceptors. Ukraine is up to sell 10,000 of those units to the United States of America and Qatar. Those are called P-1 Sun. Plus, Ukraine will send some of the military personnel to train Americans and Qatarians to protect their skies. Those interceptors are really effective and Ukraine proved that. By the way, the story about this name, P-1-Sun, actually it's P-Sun, the name of the drone. P-Sun in transcription means Pisyun, and Pisyun in Ukrainian is basically a penis, so a dick, because this drone looks like the one. So yeah, Ukraine will sell 10K of the dickies to Americans and some of the Middle Eastern countries, which are quite effective against Shahid drones. P-1-Sun was made to code this Pisyun name of the drone to make it more, I would say, legal for selling, not like some sort of the sex toy, especially speaking about Arab countries. By the way, about sex toys, a police investigation has officially established that Russian special services were sending sex toys packed with explosives across Europe. 22 suspects identified. So there were several of the cases with fires. One such package caught fire at DHL depot near Birmingham on July 22, 2024, while another ignited at logistics center in Leipzig. Well, that's the old story, you may say, but Russians continue to destabilize Europe with those small attacks. Also, there were some of the rail accident cases. So actually, those are the fresh news published a couple of days ago, and it's good that several of the suspects were detained. Oh, this is awesome, guys. Swedish forces, special forces, they detained the Russian Shadow oil fleet tanker in the Baltic Sea. You see? They're landing with the boat. Well, helicopter was also used, but it's the first time an infantry or, those special forces went to the ship from the boat. Ooh, and the helicopter is flying. Awesome. So partially they landed from the boat, partially from the helicopter. Is it a tanker? Yeah, that's kind of the unique thing. Then you see them acting right away from the POV perspective, from the drone cameras. Oh, one more boat. One more, probably local police forces. I'm not sure. So yeah, that's great. One more Shadow fleet vessel was captured. Awesome. Europeans are starting to wake up. Yeah, Swedish Special Forces and Coast Guard conducting an operation to seize the vessel Kafa from Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet in the Baltic Sea. According to Ukrainian intelligence, in July 2025, this vessel loaded stolen grain in occupied Sevastopol. Ha ha ha, nice. Payback is here. Well, I just hope that this vessel will be detained for long. It's not an oil tanker, by the way, yeah? It was carrying grain, so cargo vessel, bulker. Well, this video was leaked by the Russian journalist. Let's watch it.
Да, вы знаете, давайте-ка я еще раз скажу, потому что перешел, да? Да, чуть не закашлялся. Много говорил еще сегодня. Может, принести? Нет.
Come on, Putin, you are almost there. One day, come on, you can do it. We trust in you. Well, actually, in every of his interview address to people whatsoever, he has those coughings. He has something with his throat. I don't know what is that, but it is constant. Some people say it's cancer, whatsoever. It's hard to tell, but already several of the years it's like that. Yeah, hopefully one day. Well, I also had this kind of thing that I speak too much. Like I have several hours of the stream, but I do not think that Putin speaks for several hours constantly. No. So something is there. We're not sure what is that, but probably his doctors, they know about it. Alright guys, now let's switch the topic to Middle East, and it looks like America won this war. Definitely. If we believe to this Donald Trump statement, it's kind of delusional, deranged as usual, but let's read it out. Because here Donny says that Iran, which is being beat to hell, has apologized and surrendered to its Middle East neighbors. You see? So, America, take your forces out. Iran is fully freaking defeated, surrendered, apologized, and everything of that, yeah? And promised that it will not shoot them anymore. And indeed, the president of Iran apologized to some of the Middle Eastern countries, saying that they cannot control all of their army units, communication is being cut, lost, so they are acting at will, targeting all of the oil infrastructure, military bases, whatsoever. But after he apologized, the strikes continued. Dubai was hit several of the times, including Dubai military airfield, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, multiple of the areas. So actually Iran continue its retaliation strikes. Maybe government cannot control it, maybe they can, but it's hard to say because Iran still fires towards everywhere. So what the president of Iran apologized for, Iran continued to do. So this promise was made only because of the relentless United States and the Israeli attack. They were looking to take over and rule the Middle East. It is the first time that Iran has ever lost in thousands of years to surrounding Middle Eastern countries. They have said, "Thank you, President Trump." I have said, "You are welcome." What? Iran is no longer the bully of Middle East, they are instead the loser of the Middle East and will be for many decades until they surrender or more likely completely collapse. But they surrender, you see? Surrendered. So until they surrender. So, wow. Today Iran will be hit very hard. But they surrender. You won, America. Donald Trump, you finished Iran. They are the losers. They surrendered already to other countries. Why do you need to strike them? Come on. Iran will be hit very hard, under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain deaths because of Iran's bad behavior. You want to punish them more? They surrendered to you. It's like against all of those articles, Geneva Conventions, whatsoever. Trump, what are you doing? Are you killing POVs? What is happening? The areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until now, this moment in time. Thank you for attention. You want just to destroy Iran? Iranian people, like, what are you doing, Trump? You already won this war, come on, according to your words. And moreover, they say, thank you, President Trump. Iran say to you, thank you, and you say you're welcome and you start heavy bombing? Come on. Oh, guys, I don't know what is happening with American president. He is like deranged, delusional. He's crazy, maniac, pedo. Yeah, you know that word. He belongs to the mental institution. You don't know what might happen next. Maybe he might deploy some of the ground forces even. Who knows, who knows? Feel like a doctor, then I comment the United States policy, politics, and everything of that. Yeah, maybe you have some of the words. Maybe we have doctors in our community, yeah, some psychiatrists. Maybe you may comment describing what is happening with this patient. I'm crazy. Yeah, the Washington Post published the article that Pentagon may be preparing a ground operation in Iran. This is indicated by the interrupted military exercise of the 82nd Airborne Division of the United States Army in Louisiana, writes the Washington Post. According to the publication sources, the Pentagon plans to officially announce the transfer of the helicopter unit of the 82nd Division to the Middle East. This is interesting, but one division is not enough for the ground intervention. Maybe they're planning some sort of the landing operation to land the forces in nuclear facilities to capture them. Could it be a variant? Yes, but it's very, very risky because how would they deliver supplies to those areas? It's hard to tell. All right, we have some message from Osins that Iranian's president's apology to Gulf countries has sparked anger among members of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and hardline fractions. Reuters reports. Maybe it's like that because RGC, it's the different type. Like it's not the official government, it's not the official army, but RGC, they definitely control what is happening in Iran and they now perform all of those retaliation strikes. So I don't think that this president's apology changes something. Iran will continue to strike infrastructure of Bahrain, UAE, and other countries nearby. It's the only way for Iran to cancel this military intervention, just to spread chaos in the region, to disturb supplies, oil, gas deliveries, and everything else. For the United States to finally end the campaign because they put half of the world into the crisis. If the Strait of Hormuz has been blocked for 3 more weeks, that would create major economic crisis in Europe, in Asia, in Middle East as well. So United States do not have this infinite time for the military action because it will economically strike back them as well. Plus, Donald Trump personally, American economy is connected to the Middle East, petrodollar and everything of that. Of course, they need stability. And this special military operation wasn't planned well from what we see. Also, United States officials told Congress in classified briefing this week that Iran still has roughly 50% of its ballistic missile program intact and even larger share of its drone fleet. But publicly, CENTCOM gives different numbers, like 90% of ballistics were annihilated together with 83% of the drones, but those figures are fake. If we trust this classified briefing that was leaked to the press. The New York Times published this information. It means that Iran still maintains military capabilities and still capable to retaliate. That is what it does, hitting all of those nearby countries. And for the first time, Israel is striking Iranian oil infrastructure. Those fields are now burning. Well, actually, Iran started to do it. They hit some of the oil facilities in Kuwait, in UAE, so that's the goal of Iran, to spread this panic on the markets, to disturb, again, supplies, everything of that, oil logistics. The Strait of Hormuz, I would say now it's not functioning. Maybe 5% of the traffic is going, risking switching off transponder, but it's nothing compared to what it should be for the world economy to function normally. And Iranian regime is still in power despite being beheaded. Also, there are some of the rumors that son of Khamenei is injured, but he's still alive. Plus, Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, they are still controlling force of the country, all of the military and everything. And I would say that without protests of local people, Iranians themselves, and they're not protesting, the only variant to change the regime is deploying troops massively. Whether the United States is going to do it, it's hard to tell, but again, it would be a big mistake, it will bring losses, and the outcome of this operation is yet unknown, because changing regime doesn't mean changing it for good, because there could be some of the fanatics that might take power. Yeah, But with the airstrikes alone, you cannot nail down the country, which is that huge. Iran is big, population is enormous. You see, even if we take Gaza Strip and mighty force of Israel and what they did there, demolishing everything, they are still not controlling this area. Yeah, still Hamas is out there. So do you think that American military and Israeli military are capable to do it with Iran? Well, I think they are capable, actually, if they deploy massively their troops there, especially American forces. But again, the outcome, what it will be, no one knows. I think that American forces might be deployed somewhere here to the Strait of Hormuz on Iranian territory, maybe to let the ships out from this bottleneck, but again, it's a very, very risky operation. Right, it's kind of hard to hear what they're saying here because of the airplane noise, but anyways, Witkoff and Trump, they were asked about Russians' involvement in providing detailed information to Iranian forces about positions of American troops, American units, American vehicles, American raiders. And they've been hit kind of precisely, I would say, this time compared to 2025. So I would say maybe, I'm not sure, but the American life losses could be connected to the Russian surveillance information. But those two idiots, they say that this is a minor thing, come on, we demolish Iran, we don't care about that too much. But from other media sources, we heard that Witkoff called to Dmitriev, where he asked the Russian side not to provide this intelligence information to Iran any longer. Well, I think that Russians, they simply do not care. They will continue to provide this information to Iran, and they might say to Witkoff, oh, come on, Witkoff, we didn't do it. You may tell to Trump that we are not involved. So that's the complete circus with this Russian intelligence, and the fact that President of the United States continued to say that it's nothing, it's disturbing. One more tweet of Donald Trump where he says that United Kingdom is considering sending some of the air carriers, but he says that it's too late, but we'll remember of the misaction of UK. We don't need people that join wars after we've already won. So Donald Trump proclaims his victory in Iran. This is crazy, guys. This is, again, a diagnosis for American president. He's delusional. He's not even close to achieve any sort of the objective of his special military operation. There are no changes in the regime, nothing actually achieved. Well, he killed some of the part of elite, but he spread complete chaos in the region. That's what he achieved for now. Well, actually, time here plays in favor of Iran. The longer they may disturb everything happening in the Middle East, the better it is for them. Not for the United States, not for Israel, not for Gulf countries, not for Europe, not for China. Maybe only Russia wins for now, in the short term. And you see, mostly Israeli-United States strikes are happening just in one side of Iran. Still, there are lots of the territories where American fighter jets and bombers are not capable to go through because there could be some of the air defense of Iran. Also, in one of my videos, I mentioned B-52 bombers, which are mainly used when the air superiority is achieved. Well, those, in this case, are using rockets, not the bombs. They fire those rockets, missiles from the longer distance. It means that air superiority is not 100% reached by Israeli and United States forces over Iran. And here we have the statistics of Iranian ballistic missiles and drone launches towards nearby countries. You may see those are ballistic missiles in amber, and blue are the drones. Well, there was a decline, but now it's more or less standstill and even a little bit higher for the usage of the drones. I guess that RGC just wants to extend the available resources they have of ballistics and drones for the longer time, because as I mentioned to you before, time plays in favor of Iran. So my personal forecast about the Iranian operation, that because it was planned poorly by the incompetent people of the White House, it will not reach its goals, it will basically fail. And I just hope that I'm wrong and Iranian regime will definitely be dismissed, but you see, Donald Trump already says that he achieved the victory. Yeah. Anyways, my friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine and in the world. If you want to support my job, you are very welcome to join me on Patreon. The link for it is in the video description right below. You may also join membership of the channel by pressing button join right over here if you watch me on YouTube. If you do not have the opportunity to support me on Patreon or membership, please press like to this video and subscribe for the channel. That also helps a lot. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.